Good evening and welcome to everybody. This is Saturday, the 18th of September. This is Christopher Daigan coming to you from my home in KwaZulu-Natal on a beautiful, beautiful spring day. It's been crisp and clear. The sun has been out this afternoon. And I'm laughing to myself, I'm smiling because as I'm sitting here, this visual feast which you are seeing of orchids, I've got a spring program, so I'm wearing a beautiful spring jacket for you. But I have here the addition of beautiful fragrances. And at the moment, I can smell the neighbors' braai who are cooking some beautiful wors on the braai next door, just wafting through. I'm sure Andrew's also laughing and smelling the fragrances that are wafting around this beautiful spring early evening. So unfortunately, that's not coming from my kitchen, but I hope that they're enjoying it. So welcome to this stream on Saturday, the 18th of September. This is another in our in-concert session, and tonight's Concerts Classics. I hope to bring you some beautiful spring, positive, uplifting, light, gentle, and beautiful dynamic moods in a program of music by Scarlatti, by Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, and by Frédéric Chopin. No surprises there. And this evening's program, as I say, positive spring moods. We've got some beautiful orchid images to show you again, and I hope you're going to be able to join us for the next hour and enjoy some wonderful music. So I'm going to start the program with a very standard and a very predictable kind of format, and that is with three Scarlatti sonatas. Domenico Scarlatti, Italian Baroque composer. Vivaldi wrote Spring and the Four Seasons. Scarlatti wrote 500 of these beautiful pieces, and they're so charming, they're so beautiful, and have such wonderful ear-tickling ideas. They're full of notes and vitality and a real sense of joie de vivre that carries them through from one moment to the next. And so in this evening's program, you'll see how the different time periods or the different contrasted styles from the Baroque, early 17th century of Scarlatti through to the late 19th century of Chopin. I'm going to point out to you the different textures and the different contrasts that you'll see within each piece. So each of these Scarlatti sonatas are focused on a medium, fast and very fast pace for each of the three pieces. But in each composition, you'll see each one is divided in half. There's a very clear break in the middle. But within each piece of music, the style, the melody, the pace of the music and the mood of it is very consistent. The mood which you hear at the beginning carries throughout the piece of music right till the end. There's only a focus on one particular aspect. So it's like almost like looking at one orchid for each particular piece of music. There's color variation within it, but it's one particular style and one particular focus on each piece at a time. And so the first one in D major has a royal fanfare, a very positive ceremonial start, full of very quirky pauses here and there and sort of uncertain moments, but very open-hearted, very generous and grand piece of music. The second one, also very quick, lots of finger patterns running up and down. And the third one, particularly fast, very quick and very dance-like, very jaunty, very full of energy and full of life. So Scarlatti sonatas in D major, in E flat major and G major to start off this evening's in-concert program. the charming elegance there of Domenico, I'm not sure what the correct pronunciation, Domenico Scarlatti, Italian Baroque composer. Such charming music, he's so tricky. I'm fascinated by his music. I really have some of my favorite recordings and discs that I listen to on a regular basis are pianists playing Scarlatti's music, and I always struggle with it. And I find it's one of the most interesting things about a recurring theme. I'm not sure if any other performing musicians have experienced this, but I find that sometimes the music that I like the most seems to be the most challenging for me to perform. And some of the music that I like the least, that I'm least interested in, seems to be some of the most successful, which is a bit of an odd way, but who knows, maybe it's just the way that life works. It's just the way that things work out. Anyway, so 3 Scarlatti sonatas there in D major, E flat major, and G major. You heard each of them in their particular styles, tempo and speed, the pulse consistent throughout of each contained unit. Now I'm going to move on to the wonderful sonata in F major by Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, as I've played this on a few occasions, more than once on these live streams, and it's such a wonderful piece of music that I keep coming back to it. It just really seems to work, not only in this particular setting, being a beautiful spring program, but also in terms of the live stream setup. As I've said, some composers seem to work better on this live stream medium through the internet, where the sound and the visuals are somehow a little bit more contained. Some of the drama of Beethoven gets lost, but something of the Mozart, and I think of this piece, the lyricism and the optimism really shines through. So you will hear 3 movements. They're 3 separate pieces of music. The last movement I'll start with in terms of what you'll hear, but a very brilliant cascades of sounds. And even though the tempo in the piece, in each of the movements, is consistent, and the style and the pulse is consistent, you'll see now there are contrasted themes or contrasted ideas. So in the last movement you'll hear this brilliant, and then contrasted with something more. So they're actually at the same speed. The tempo of the piece is constant. The speed of the piece is constant, but in fact they are very contrasted. One very brilliant and full of notes, the other slightly more reserved, introverted, you might say, and lyrical, fewer notes in it. And this consistency of the rhythm is what holds the piece of music together, of these contrasted ideas. It's like two sides of the same coin. In the middle section, a beautiful lyrical movement, just a wonderful unwinding melody that Mozart writes, actually very simply divides the piece in half and repeats it with a slightly different end. And the first movement is one of Mozart's movements that are just packed with so many melodic ideas, broad melodies, triumphant, almost little trumpet call sounds, orchestral contrasts, so many melodies, so many beautiful ideas packed together in one concentrated first movement. But again, the tempo and the consistency and the pulse of the movement is constant throughout. So this is the sonata in F major, case 332. K, of course, referring to the catalogue number from a Mr. Köchel, who catalogued Mozart's works from 1 to 620 something. And this is somewhere about in the middle. And a beautiful work for this optimistic spring program. That was the sonata in F major in 3 movements, Allegro, Adagio, and Allegro, case 332. Wonderful piece of music, really, as I say, a piece of music that I come back to often. And it's so full of many positive ideas, it's so full of joy and brilliance. A reminder once again that Mozart in his own day would have written a piece like that, and particularly in the last movement with those cascading runs up and down the piano to show off something of his brilliance, his own performing brilliance, not just compositional brilliance, but performing brilliance to the public. As always, it's always a surprise, when you move from one movement to another. And starting the 3rd movement just caught me a little bit by surprise. I wasn't quite ready for it. I was still, I think, enjoying somewhere in the back of my mind the beautiful, languid feelings of the 2nd movement, and a bit of a false start there. It's no good at all. Hey, Lucy. Even Lucy's looking at me very, very accusingly. Not good at all. You can't have a false start in the last movement of the Mozart. How are you doing, Lucy? Yes, and Frieda's here too. So I'm going to move on to 2 compositions by Frédéric Chopin, which are very contrasted. The first of which, a very beautiful Nocturne, one of Chopin's most beguiling, might be the right word, one of his enigmatic pieces. It's an extended piece, one of the last nocturnes that he wrote. And it's often seen as one of the real gems, one of the real jewels of Chopin's output. It's so full of beautiful chords and nuances. It wanders into very unusual harmonic language, into sort of feelings, but you're not quite sure where the ground or where the home point in the music really is, and then has these wonderful moments of cascading sounds that sound sort of Middle Eastern almost sometimes, very exotic, perfumed, like a beautifully perfumed spring evening. It's a piece of music that I've played for many years, but I keep coming back to again and again. It's so full of detail. There's so many ways of handling the various phrases. And then the last piece of music to end off this evening's session, our in-concert session on Saturday evening, I'm going to play the first of 4 scherzi or scherzos that Chopin wrote. And this is a very brilliant, dynamic piece of music. It's quite dark. Some people find it quite threatening at times, but I'm going to try and adopt a less threatening approach, you might say. And with the Nocturne as well, you'll see there's a gentle feeling, a gentle pulse, a very enigmatic, ethereal atmosphere throughout the piece. A bit of a change in the middle section, a slight different sense of feeling before the original theme comes back emblazoned or beautifully adorned with trills, where he takes you can't get more adorned than that. It's like ladling tons of jewels upon the melody. It's such a beautiful sound, wonderful moment within the piece. But in the second piece, the second Chopin piece I'll play for you, the scherzo, there is then an extreme contrast. So where we had in Scarlatti and Mozart a continuity of tempi or continuity of style, in the scherzo in particular, it's turbulent. There's these waves, it builds into peaks and waves, and that sense of turbulence and uncertainty is the anxiety that Chopin really brings to the music, to bring you as an audience his feeling of uncertainty. And in the middle section of the music, he then quotes a beautiful, gentle, most enigmatically gentle and ethereal quotation of a Polish Christmas carol. And of course, all that sounds sort of, well, why would he do that? What is the thought behind this? And it's so interesting, the story, the kind of biographical moment. Chopin wrote this piece and he talked about it in his first trips, one of his first trips away from his homeland, Poland, away from his family. He was on his own. He was trying to now establish his career by himself in his first trip to Austria, and he found himself in Vienna and in St. Stephen's Cathedral on New Year's Eve. It was freezing cold, it was snowing, and he wrote about how he was walking across the graves in the cathedral and was surrounded by death. It was the most isolated, alone, and terrified that he had been in his life, certainly. And so what does he do in terms of producing that music? That's the terror, that's the anxiety and this turbulence in the waves that you hear. But in the middle of that, he recollects the most poignant and the most sincere and wonderfully comforting, is the right word, comforting moment that he can, and that is a Polish Christmas carol when his family would have been together. There would be a sense of peace and a sense of community. And this Polish Christmas carol, which is a lullaby, is the exact melody that he quotes in the middle section of this scherzo before he returns to the turbulence and the anxiety, and then finishes off with a great sense of culmination, of defiance, to end the piece on a very strident and brilliant note. I wouldn't say positive because it's quite threatening actually, but it's a very final end to this composition. So this is the Nocturne in B major, opus 62 number 1, and the Scherzo number 1, the first of 4 scherzo. This is the Scherzo opus 20 in B minor. Rather dramatic piece of music there to end off this evening's in-concert session on Saturday the 18th of September. That was the Scherzo number 1. First of 4 scherzos, and again I've adopted a different approach, having listened to myself play that more than once on these live streams, and it's amazing. Well, it's interesting to see how it actually comes out. It's amazing what the difference is between playing in a big hall with a large acoustic and in a tiny room with a piano right next to you, and someone who knows all about being right next to you and in a tiny space is Little Luce. Hello, Little Lucy. Come on. Little Luce wants to come up to say hello. Hello, everyone. Little Luce is here. Hello, Luce. How are you doing today? Oh, yes, you're fine. You're just having an absolutely fine time. And Luce, dare I ask what you did today? What did you do? Nothing. Just nothing. We lay in the bed. Well, we all got up quite late, yes, so we've all been sleeping a lot. And yes, we just had a lovely day. We've been barking at the monkeys, and we've been sleeping a lot and keeping warm, yes, wherever we can. And Frida and little Wendy Pop have been there to keep you company all the way. Yes, it's been lovely. And you enjoyed, yes, you liked the, Mozart was, oh, you've had enough. Okay, Mozart was very good. And here's Frida. You liked the Mozart most of all. Come on, Frieds. Hello, Freedy Pop. How are you doing today? Little Freedy. Oh, yes, you got to have it because the scratch. You love it when there's a scratch going. And of course, someone who's not so happy now that Frida's on my lap, someone's not so thrilled about it. Hey, Little Luce, you're going to bark in a minute. Well, that does bring us back to the end of this evening's session. Thank you for joining me tonight. Thank you to Andrew for the technical support and the camera work. Thanks, Frida and Lucy, for hanging in there through the performance. Thank you to all of you who've joined me tonight. Thank you for keeping me company. I hope I've been able to keep you company, provide you with an hour of some interesting music, beautiful sounds and beautiful images, and something which is just a little bit different and possibly uplifting and enjoyable. I'll be back on Wednesday with another session on our World Cafe or Piano Hour. I think it might be a question and answer session on Wednesday. If you're not visiting our website or on our mailing list, please do musicrevival.co.za, where you'll have opportunity to sign up to our mailing list and receive advance notice of some of the things which I'll be playing. I try and send out a program once a month, which will be going out this week. And if you are able to support me in these endeavors of producing this live stream project, someone asked, Andrew, can you go to camera number 1? Someone pointed out, they said they're a bit perplexed that on camera number 1 you will see it's over there somewhere. There's some red dots, a little bit down. There we go. I'm pointing at the red dots. Those are actually on the camera. Those are a temporary situation because, in fact, as I've told you many times before, my partner Barry is away at the moment, and he's taken 2 of the cameras, or his 2 cameras, away with him, which is rather unfortunate, but I'm sure that he's making great use of them. So in fact, what you're seeing on that camera angle, camera number 1, which you will see the dogs at, and also what you're seeing on that camera angle over there, which is at the end of the piano, I'm pointing to you now, those are actually running off a cell phone. This is an app on a cell phone, and it's amazing, the cameras on the cell phones are actually incredibly good. So we've managed to prop those together, power supply in, HDMI cable out, and with this app we're able to produce a pretty good image. Can't zoom in terribly well, but unfortunately the other one, I'm going to cough quickly, gosh, sorry about that. Camera number 1 is a very old iPhone, and so the app doesn't operate very nicely with the system, the Apple operating system, and so you get those little dots which we can't get rid of them. So that's what they are. They're for focus and depth of fields, but unfortunately we can't get rid of them on that particular phone, but the others we can. And here's someone else who wants to come and say hello. Hello, little Wendy Pop. Hello, Wendy. Hello, Wendy Pop, Wendy Pop, Wendy Pop. Who's got a waggy tail? Look, Wendy's got a big waggy tail. You can see. You've got a big waggy tail, Wendy Pop. You're always so excited. Yes. You like being on camera number 1. You don't mind that there's dots because it's the doggy spy cam, and it means that when you're sitting here, the doggies you can be spied on, and people can watch you while you're sitting in your basket. Frida's busy preening herself and playing with her jaw. And now that we're going to nuzzle each other. So, enough chatting. Thanks for joining me tonight. Look forward to seeing you on Wednesday.